Yes, girl. Yes. Congratulations. You got your own business. I love that. I see you. I see you, boss lady. I see you. Or do I? I really don't see you anywhere in this branding. I see logos. I see maybe some credentials, some corporate jargon, some safe verbiage, some bland colors. Seemed like your personal brand was really built off of survival. Damn, girl, what if you left corporate, but corporate never left you? Welcome to Code Switch Rebellion. This is the unfiltered podcast for Black women who are done shrinking, chasing perfection, and performing professionalism in their own business. I'm Melanie L. Denny, aka Melly D, personal branding consultant and the identity strategist. This is where we talk about what it really takes to build a personal brand rooted in who you are, not who you were conditioned to be. Round here, we have real, raw conversations about what it means to show up with integrity, authority, and bold authenticity so you can attract better clients and bigger opportunities. Let's get into it. Cause child, you'd have left the corporate world and you'd have brought them shackles, that mask, and all the codes with you in your own business. And you know what I like to call that? I like to call that survival branding. This is where you define your branding using fear, conditioning, and the need to be accepted instead of your identity. See, survival branding kept you safe in that corporate world, for sure. It did what it needed to do for you to get your check. But that survival mode is going to cap your growth when it comes to entrepreneurship. So in this episode, we're going to break down how survival branding shows up in your business, how it impacts your marketing, your client experience, and your sales, your money, your cash, and then why it's really costing you more than we actually realize. So let's get into this thing. So when we talk about, corporate conditioning and code switching and performing professionalism and all of these things, it shows up in all these different places, and some places you may not have even thought about. So let's break some of this down. So the first place it shows up is in our messaging, for sure. And messaging is my thing. That's really where my expertise stems from, because I had to do messaging in the resume writing world and making sure that we're saying the right things and focusing on the outcomes and all of that. And so when you're on survival mode and you're doing your branding from that surviving kind of perspective, it shows up in your messaging, because then you're softening your opinions and you want to just make the expertise, and your years of experience and your degrees and all of that speak for itself, right? And then you're showing up trying to be overly polished, right? You want to present like you know what you're talking about and you're not stuttering over your words or, just not communicating well. But at the same time, if it's overly done, then you just look fake. Let's be real. You just look fake. And no one likes fake. Everyone wants authenticity. We thrive off of like that connection, and you can't connect with someone's representative. Now, can we? And let me tell you why I consider this like survival branding, right? And why it's rooted in corporate. Because what you're doing when you're watering down your messaging is that you are trying to be broadly accepted. I got a quick question for you. Do you keep attracting the wrong clients or no clients at all? Something's going wrong with your personal brand move. And it's okay, but before you can fix it, you gotta really know what's going on. You gotta assess and see what needs to be fixed so you can take the next best steps. If you're ready to get off that struggle bus and stop winging it, book a digital brand audit. This is a personalized deep dive on how you're showing up online. We dive into what's working, what's missing, and what's really holding you back from those opportunities and those clients that you know you deserve. Book your digital brand audit today. You're trying to be broadly accepted because you want all the money. You want all your cash. And by being bold with your messaging, you may be alienating some of your audience. But you want to attract everybody. You want to attract whoever will pay you versus moving like somebody who knows that their people will come to them, right? And it really, really messes with your client's experience, right? And the potential client's experience and how you're viewed in the marketplace. Because yes, if you do this and you have your safe messaging and you look overly polished and all that, you look competent, right? Like, okay, she kind of knows what she's doing. That's cool. But there's no passion. And the people watching you don't feel your passion one way or another. Like, you don't stand for nothing. You're not exciting. You're not, right? For example, I'm going to give you a quick example. Let's say you're a tax professional and you're really good at taxes, but you feel like IRS be scamming, right? And you help your clients to really like get the most out of them because they some scammers. Do your clients know that? Like, is that something you're saying? No, that might not be a good example because IRS, you don't want to mess with them. Like, they the mom. And so if there's rules and such that you can't bash them or whatever, that may not be a good example, but you get the point. The point is that you want to stand for something, okay? And you want to be bold with your positioning. And you want to put that bold messaging in your website, in your content, or your blog post, or your podcast, wherever you show up, okay? The other thing that I think this does, which is a negative, is like they just don't see you as someone who is different or unique because you're saying just the status quo of what needs to be said in the marketplace, right? You're saying, the benefits of taxes is you get the most bang for your buck, or whatever the standard is for someone looking to get their taxes done. You're not taking it beyond that to make people feel like, oh my gosh, she the one. She the one I need. Like, your differentiating factor is gone because you're not standing for anything. And then they're not emotionally moved. People buy off of emotions. I had to look this up. Did you know 95% of buying decisions are emotional? 95% of buying decisions is emotional. So why are you kind of keeping it cold and bland and like safe? You need to rile some people up. And whatever emotion it is, it doesn't have to be anything negative like anger, which is a good one, but it could be excitement. There's a ton of different emotions that you could tap into, but you gotta do something. You gotta do something. All of that bland talk was cool in corporate, but like, you have your own business now. It's time for you to get a little bit more emotional and get a little bit more passionate about something. Okay. When you show up in your personal brand, you need to, your clients want to experience you. When you show up bland, your sales are like, okay, she's all right. You attract like these indifferent type of clients because like attracts like, right? So if your website is like, it's cool, whatever, just say what we gotta say and get up, get in, get out, then your clients are gonna be the ones who like that are also going to be like that. And I mean, that's cool if that's what you like, but I have a feeling it's not. And then when you get on like a sales conversation, you tend to over explain your value and the services that you offer. You know why? Because you haven't done the messaging work to really figure out what is the real outcome. So in that tax example, for example, the real outcome is that you getting over on IRS. You see what I mean? That's what they really want to do. They want to feel like they've conquered a common enemy, which is the IRS. No one likes IRS. You see what I mean? And so then you have to figure out, okay, on the call, let me tell you why this is da 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 da. And I over explain, well, you could have did that from jump on the website in your content, etc. And then you don't feel real. You don't feel authentic. They don't feel like, I don't know who this is. I don't know who's behind this website. I don't see no pictures. I don't see no story of like who this person is and why they even started this business, why they want to work with, like, who is this? Who are you? Right? So all of that is just comes into question when you bring that survival mode into your business. Okay? So you really need to use your authentic voice and share what it is that you believe about your industry. Draw a line, right? For me, our common enemy is corporate conditioning. We don't want no parts of that. right? And that is an emotional thing because we've been through this for years. We've been, going to corporate day in and day out. And now I'm telling you, stop that shit. That's emotional. You see what I mean? So there you go. Now, it doesn't stop at messaging. Okay. Another way that cold switch culture comes into pricing and that survival branding happens is in the way in which we position our product or service. So that looks like underpricing. Oh my gosh, baby, I see this all the time. Woo! When I had my resume writing membership, that was my number one thing with them. Y'all are underpriced. Underpriced. And remember, this was like 300 mostly black women, all underpriced. Hello. And then you underprice and then over deliver. So now you ain't got no profits because a lot of people with service businesses think that they don't have overhead because they don't have to hire people. They do the service, they fulfill it, they have their laptop already, they got their internet, but all of that stuff costs money. And you know what else it costs? Your time. And I used to do this thing with them where I would say, break down how much time it takes you to talk to the client, to write the resume, to do the edits, to offboard them, etc. What is the hourly rate? What does it boil back down to? Child, some of them numbers was crazy. I was like, you might as well go work at McDonald's with that. You feel me? So when we are on survival mode, we tend to underprice. We discount when nobody asks us for a discount. You feel me? We add bonuses in just to try to justify why the price is the price. Meanwhile, the price is some bullshit compared to the white folks. Right? And let me tell you how this stems from corporate. You don't want to seem like you are too much. You're too expensive. The audacity, right? It's just another way that you shrink. Right? It's just another way. Think of it specifically in terms of money, we don't ask for raises, right? We feel like they're not going to pay us what we're worth anyway. So why ask, right? We're scared because we don't want to look ungrateful that we have this job. So we tend to diminish our value when it comes to the mighty dollar. That is some bullshit. And then it becomes mid-tier positioning versus high-end because you the shit. You are dope and you underpricing because of all the years of conditioning. We're going to have to let that go. Okay? Because now clients are coming on your calls trying to negotiate with you, haggling and shit. Like, this ain't the swap meet. Okay? Shout out to Fort Lauderdale. This ain't the swap shop. Okay? And then they doing all this back and forth, and you actually entertaining that shit. Like, well, yeah, I can do this. I can do that. All right, I'll do this. How about I? Right? And then after all of that, they hit you with the, okay, let me think about it. Child. Let me tell you, I'm talking all this. This is me. This has happened to me over and over and over again in business. I know what I'm talking about. Then another reason you do this is that you want to feel affordable. You want to feel affordable. You want to feel accessible because we want to, at any cost, avoid criticism. And one of the criticism is your prices are too high. And we feel like that is a nick to our own self-worth because I set these prices and I'm delivering this service. So damn, I must not be good enough to demand this dollar amount. Let me tell you a quick story. So when I was first starting out resume writing, I started for free. Gotta start somewhere. Feel me? I was just trying to practice and learn and figure out, and show people, hey, I can do this thing. I can write. Let me write your resume. I was trying to write everybody's resume, and so then I started writing resumes for $35. That was my fee. I want to tell you my resumes was fire because anything that I do, I definitely want to do it well. So I put a lot of effort. I bought a bunch of books. I did a lot of research. I figured out how to really phrase things. And these resumes was dope and people was getting jobs. So one time, this one lady, bought a resume, and she was like, oh, I don't like it. It doesn't look like, she was a referral. It doesn't look like this other person's resume that you wrote. Like, yeah, because you're not that person. You're not her. She is she and you are you. So your resume gonna look like you, because I'm big on, come to think of it, I've always been about individuality and authenticity to who you are. And I created the resume based on her. Child, she wanted a refund. A refund on a $35 resume? If you don't get the hell up out of here. And from that moment, I was like, no more. Then I raised it to 75. Big difference, right? Anyway, by the end of it all, I was charging thousands of dollars for a resume package, but I digress. So listen, if you're bringing this type of energy, your clients are going to feel like you don't have set boundaries. They're going to feel like they're entitled to your flexibility. They're going to assume that it's cool to like bend the scope, like, oh, add this in, add that in. The timelines are adjustable. They on their own time with their own deliverables. They think they know better than you. The fuck? I'm telling y'all, when you price low, this is the type of clientele you get, especially for services. Done for you services that you offer. This is how they act when it's low. Okay? And then you basically you don't get treated like a leader in your industry. You get treated like bottom of the barrel because that's what you're charging. Right? And if you don't hold your standards, your clients are not going to believe you. They're not going to hold the standards, right? I got another story for you real quick. It was one of my first executive clients, one of mine. I had a few at that time. And I mean, CEO, whatever. And I did his resume and I made it beautiful, right? I had a little globe because he was global, and like, you know, I made like a little chart and such. And it was dope. It was fire. I was proud of that. Child, he came back and was like, listen, at an executive level, we don't need all of this, all this sprucing up and all these tables and graphs and such. You know, we don't need this. I was messed up because I'm like, oh, maybe I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I went to my mentor at that time and I said, hey, this is what this guy said to me. Oh my God, what do I do? She was like, girl, if you don't tell that man who you are, she was like, you have to own that you are the expert. And he paid you money in exchange for your expertise. So he needs to trust that you know what you're doing. Stand on business. I was like, you so right. You so right. I went back and I said, listen, you know, you pay me, I gave him the whole spiel. I said, this is the standard for resumes at an executive level if you want to stand out. And you should trust me that I know what I'm doing. What do you want to do? He was like, you are so right. Do your thing. I could not believe it, y'all. I could not believe it. The moment I stepped into my authority, the moment I stepped into the value that I was bringing, and I owned it, and I had to identify as an expert. Right? A lot of what we talk about on this podcast is about identity. I say identity is the strategy. And me not owning that I am an expert resume writer, that man had me, I was shaking in my boots because he questioned me and I wasn't sure of myself. Right? So stop that shit. Stop that shit. Charge what you're worth, okay? Because if you don't, you're going to be resentful, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be broke, you're going to be questioning everything, okay? And I'm telling you, this stuff runs so deep. It runs so deep. And it's not just about how we price either. It's about how we present ourselves, like the aesthetics, right? So it also is about choosing safe branding in terms of colors and fonts, etc., right? We tend to minimize like our personality. So we don't want to, you know, if we show up somewhere and we're wearing like red, we're not going to put that red on their website, baby. We got to get the navy blue and the gray. Cause I want to be taken seriously. Why is red not a serious color? Why is purple not a serious color? Like, first of all, purple, a little history on purple. Purple, if you notice, there's no purple in any flag. right? Any national flag, there's no purple. You know why? Because purple was very expensive to create, because you had to mix it. You had to buy extra paint to mix it to create the color purple. So purple has this regal, expensive tone to it historically. How is that not a serious color? You don't get the hell on, okay? I'm finna have my purple all day, every day. And what I also see is like we tend to over corporatize our visuals. Is that a word? Over corporatize, right? We're gonna do a photo shoot. We better get our hair straight. Better get our hair back. Better not have no poofy, no nappies, no braids, right? And we really just minimize our cultural expression. Okay, I told y'all a few episodes back, I'm an island girl. Okay, to my core, I am an island girl. And so I wanted to make sure that my brand, when I rebranded and had that whole identity crisis, go back a few episodes to learn about that, I needed to be able to show up as such. Okay, island girl, bright, vibrant, outspoken. This is me. And when you go to my website, you're going to get me. You're going to get that, right? But when we go to some of these other when I go to some of my clients' websites, I'd be like, where you at? Whose company is this? Right? One tiny little headshot in the corner, baby. With a very boring bio. Like, infuse who you are into your personal brand. You know why we do this though? We want to come off credible. We want to come off as though you can trust me. Like they say, blue is the color of trust. But if I hate blue and I'm putting it everywhere, can you trust me? Because blue's not my color, but I'm putting it everywhere. I'm not being integral, right? And so, and I do understand there's a certain component where you want to appease your audience. But again, I feel like your vibe attracts your tribe. And if your audience is not one to be drawn to your authentic spirit, and your spirit says, I want to be bright and colorful, that ain't your people. And that's okay. It's all right. Your people are for you. And the people who are not for you just ain't for you. Got to accept that. So now, how does this impact like the business in terms of like your marketing? No memorability. Nobody remembers you, right? And then now you're competing on just information. Like, okay, what does this offer? What does she offer? What does this person offer? Versus, damn, she fire. Oh my goodness, she gets me. Oh my goodness, I love her vibe. I've had clients, even when I was trying to be corporate and I had my corporate colors on my website, I had pictures of me. And I got more than once someone telling me, something about your picture just drew me in. Something about you, I don't know, maybe it's your eyes. They were attracted to me, right? So you want to make sure that you're memorable, that you pull people in, and you do that by being who you are, not the corporate packaged up, polished, perfect version, okay? And then here's what else. When you position yourself in a certain way on the internet, and then you go somewhere in real life, if people are not saying, oh my God, you're just like online. Oh my goodness, you are just like your website. Oh my goodness, you look just like your picture. You are misrepresenting yourself. Please stop that. Please stop that shit. Because how you dress for the photo shoot is not how you dress. Who are you doing that for? Who are you doing it for? You know what I mean? So just let me tell y'all, the more you can feel like you, the more you will attract everything that you need and want. The more that people can feel you and your energy, your authentic vibe, I'm telling y'all, it's almost magical. Okay? And then for us as Black women, man, please. Okay? There's just Let's just stop the nonsense. Because when they don't feel that, right? When your brand doesn't feel like the real you, people can feel that. They can feel that. Okay? And then here's the other part that is actually more quiet. It's not outward. It's more of a quiet part of the business that gets impacted when when you're operating on survival branding, is that internal policing constantly. It's the editing of the captions over and over. It's the I don't want to say that because someone might get offended, or okay, should I make this big move? Should I say this big thing? I don't know. I need someone to validate me first, even though I know in my heart this is what I believe. Hello. Me all day. Okay. Took me a minute to be bold enough to create something called Code Switch Rebellion, because even Black people have bought into the code switching. And I also get Black people saying, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. I got to get this money, so I'm going to do what I got to do. Right? And the constant thought of being rejected for your ideas can be haunting. It's a lot, right? And so I want you to think about how you are editing yourself and how you are knowing in your heart one thing, but not wanting to say it out loud because of the fear of backlash, getting canceled, conflict, internet bullies, combativeness. All of these things are very real. But when you do that, you bring an energy of uncertainty, right? So when you bringing this into your business, it's like, I know we were kind of trained to manage people's perception of us from corporate, right? So when you walk into a meeting, how are people perceiving you? What did you say in that one meeting? Now everybody thinks this of you, or that was quote unquote unprofessional. Don't get me started on that shit. And then so from that, we have learned, like, okay, let's manage how people see us by only putting forth certain things that are deemed safe, palatable for the masses. But when you do that in your business, you are stalling your growth, because if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything, right? So stop that shit. Here's another way too that it impacts your business. That energy of like, I'm not sure of myself. Again, clients feel that hesitation. They feel that shit. And then they don't see you as a leader because you're not taking a stance on anything. Right? Another thing too is the lack of storytelling is crazy. Meaning showing the world who you are in the form of a story is so powerful. But again, we were taught that our backgrounds are shameful. Like, no one needs to know all that extra shit. And it's embarrassing if we struggle because we got to put forth this perfect persona. And it's like, hello, people want that. People want the real deal. People want to know how you came to be. So share your story. So listen, if you saw yourself in any one of these scenarios that I just talked about, hopefully now you can clearly see how all that corporate conditioning has kept you on the struggle bus or not playing full out, right? But now that you are aware, you can't just keep acting on autopilot, okay? You can't keep making excuses. You can't keep doing it, right? Because when you know better, you do better, correct? So you're going to have to address this thing head on and make some real changes, like today. The first thing is, instead of asking yourself, does this sound professional? Is this going to be offensive to someone? Start asking yourself, is this aligned? Is it true? And is it mine? Because that survival mode, that's cool. It kept you safe in corporate. It really probably did. I don't doubt that was how you were able to navigate those waters. But When it comes to your own business, embracing your identity is going to make you so powerful. And they know that. The powers that be, they know that. Why do you think they strip our identity out of everything? Back in slavery times, they stripped our identity. That was the first thing to go. In the corporate world, strip our identity. Hey, you can't bring that cultural shit here. Okay? Straighten that hair. Speak like we speak. None of that other shit. Because they know if we showed up in our fullest essence of who we really are, we are unstoppable. Unstoppable. So get your ass out of survival branding and start showing up with bold authenticity, please and thank you. Okay? Now, if you're feeling like, yes, Mel, yes, this makes so much sense. I know now. But then when you think about actually showing up more authentic, you feel exposed. We're going to talk about in the next episode. We're going to talk about, why that is, and then some tips on how to overcome that. Okay. Now, if you're realizing that your brand is definitely diluted, you may want to take advantage of that digital brand audit. I'm just letting you know it's available for you to get your digital brand audited to really dive into some of these things, because we trying to scrub us of all that conditioning, baby. Scrub it away. Scrub it. Gone. This was another episode of Code Switch Rebellion. Thank you so much for listening. Your identity is the strategy. Never forget that. Deuces.